thought this is our land. Come, my brother, come, my sister, and let us build a nation together. Oh, yeah, Remember, the key to success is working hard. For our country, we must have regard. Forget all your differences, let we start to build. And onward to progress we surely will. Because now, more than ever, we must show discipline, tolerance, and production to build a strong and better nation.
Now, more than ever before, we must show tolerance, discipline, and production to build a stronger nation, not just for us, meaning this generation, but for the next generation and the next generation. I think we have a duty to make this place better for our children and children. I want to welcome you to the Dynamic Hour. Again, we have that opportunity to talk, to dialogue, to converse using radio and social media. I want to encourage those who are viewing me on Facebook and YouTube to please share the live. Sharing is caring, and you may underestimate your role in getting the message to reach more and more people. You are very integral. You are very important in getting the message to reach more and more people. So please take that time and share the live at least once. That would be really great. I want to start off by saying we have a strong leader. We have a dedicated leader. We have a tactical leader. We have a prime minister who has Grenada's best interest at heart. Carriacou and Petite Martinique also. He wants good for Grenada, Carriacou and Petite Martinique, and the Caribbean. So only recently, he visited Lagos, Nigeria, and he met with one of the richest in Nigeria. He met with one of the most influential in Nigeria, with refinery, with fertilizer making companies, and we can go on and on. And I think it is a very good move on the part of our beloved political leader and prime minister. He has vision, and people love him. The people who could make things happen love our leader. And that is very important when you are a leader or prime minister of a very small island like Grenada. It is very important to get yourself on the table of important people who can help your country. And we know that the CBI program has been getting a lot of traction in Nigeria. So a lot of Nigerians are coming on board with Grenada's citizenship, wanting to be a citizen of Grenada, wanting to invest in Grenada. And this is a good thing. So let me just play a little piece of that, the video of that trip, so you can, for yourself, get a greater appreciation of what our beloved Prime Minister had to say.
Honor and privilege to be here. The tour has been an amazing and fantastic tour. I want to start off by thanking Mr. Dangote, President of the Dangote Group, for inviting me in my capacity as Prime Minister of Grenada and also Chairman of CARICOM. I think this investment really is a tribute to him and his fantastic vision. It's a first in Nigeria, it's a first in Africa, and it's really symbolic of what the developing world needs, which is significant investment in industrialization, significant investment in manufacturing and in value add. And so this is an amazing accomplishment, a tribute to what a great vision Mr. Dangote has, not just for his company, but for Nigeria and but for Africa as a whole. The sheer scale, breadth, depth, sophistication, automation, as well as to see many very bright young Nigerians, particularly at the lab. I think that has been very inspiring, and I think it augurs well for the future development of Nigeria. I think not just for Grenada, but I think for CARICOM. It's not just for the refinery, but I think the wider Dangote group. You've got fertilizer, you've got cement. All of this is needed in the Caribbean as well. And so one of the things that we really need to do better in the developing world, in the black world, and within Africa and its diaspora, is to ensure that we can reorder the logistical and trading patterns that we've inherited from our former colonial masters. So I think for us, that's part of the reason I'm here, to pursue the synergy, the partnership between the diaspora and Africa, between CARICOM and Africa. So both in terms of the refinery, in terms of the cement, in terms of the fertilizer, and some of the other areas, we certainly think there's a fantastic opportunity to pursue partnership with CARICOM and Africa.
Yes, I think that's a very, very good move. That's a very tactical and strategic move, because we are in need within the region for nearly everything that this particular Dangote group is producing. So it's a good partnership to forge, and Grenada, CARICOM, and PT Martinique can benefit, and CARICOM down the road. So I think it's a really, really good move by our beloved Prime Minister to go to Nigeria. And mind you, that is not the only place he visited within Nigeria, or sites, or individually met. He met with really key people within Nigeria, because remember, Nigeria is a powerhouse in Africa. You could say what you want, because, out there, they paint a picture that Nigeria and all Nigerians are bad, but that's not the case. That is not true. There are Nigerians who are really good at many things. So it's a good partnership to forge. On the live, I see somebody saying that, there are some Nigerians who try to scam people and so on. Look, those things happen with all nations, all races. You're going to find good, you're going to find bad. But the Nigerians, generally, they're industrious people. All right? They can get stuff done. And forging that kind of ties and partnership, I think it's a really good move. So I think our beloved Prime Minister has to be given a lot of credit for that, because he could have easily just returned to Grenada because of the outbreak of this disease or virus or whatever in Rwanda. Could have just easily come back to Grenada and forget about that. But he decided to make the trip to Nigeria upon invitation. So that's really good. I want to applaud him for that. We continue, because our Prime Minister continues to show leadership at that level, and we all should be proud of that. All right.
Extremely successful. The key thing for us now is to ensure that we can build on this by having practical pilots that can occur, and that we can ultimately be in a position to scale up the investments that we require in this field. So I'm happy to announce that Grenada intends to start harvesting Sargassum as a commodity and as a product. We are happy to announce that we will meet with the support of the European Union in ensuring that we can pilot the collection and sale of Sargassum by the first quarter of 2026. So we will certainly use the next 15 months to be able to create the institutional framework, the business framework, the legislative and enabling environment to ensure that this happens, because we have to lead by example. And we think there are significant private sector investors who will also be quite keen to support this initiative. So in a sense, we are looking at government support, government policies, political will. We are looking at support from technical assistance, financial assistance from the European Union, and we're also looking for the expertise that the private sector has in the value chain to be able to allow us to do so. So in summary, that's one of the key outcomes for us in Grenada. We intend to put ourselves in a position come 2026 when we can demonstrate that coming out of this conference, we in fact have a pilot project that ultimately we believe can be scalable and can be an example for others in the region to be able to follow and join us in beginning the process of turning the tide and converting this Sargassum challenge into economic opportunity.
Yes. So again, that's our beloved Prime Minister, and it speaks to his leadership, and that is what a country needs. A country needs that type of leadership, you see, because we are in 2024. You need brighter leaders, smarter leaders, intelligent leaders who can represent the country at that level. It is no longer a situation where it's, anybody could just become prime minister and it could be some kind of cartoon show, all right, or some joke, some comedy show. We have long passed that era, and you need to have a leader like our beloved political leader and prime minister, the Honorable Deacon Mitchell. He continues to represent Grenada at the highest level with intelligence, with class. He's very fluent. He has the intellect, right? He's able to put things on the table so that Grenada can benefit, right, in many different ways. That is what you want. You want a leader that could make you feel proud that you're a Grenadian. And that is what we are seeing in the Honorable Deacon Mitchell. He continues to demonstrate that he is a capable leader, one who continues to represent Grenada in such a way that we all can feel proud to be Grenadian. And that is important. That is very, very important. Let me now showcase another positive thing that is happening. The Honorable Kieran James giving an update on Project Pristine and what's happening in Carriacou.
As you know, the storm came and devastated quite a number of Carriacou and Petit Martinique South stock. Many sectors were badly affected, including the fishing sector, agriculture, and so one of the mandates from the Ministry of Climate Resilience, Environment and Renewable Energy is to ensure that we restore Carriacou, we restore the pristineness of Carriacou and Petit Martinique, and that we bring it back to some sort of normalcy so that persons can commence again in terms of building their lives and also making Carriacou much more climate resilient. Through the Grenada Solid Waste Management Authority, in which we're the line ministry, we have partnered with the Ministry of Infrastructure for Project Pristine, where you would see there has been quite a number of different cleanup campaigns and initiatives towards getting all of the debris into sites where it can be compacted and shredded.
My name is Mr. Kevin Clark. I am the Operations Supervisor for Carriacou and Petit Martinique, Grenada Solid Waste Management Authority. Right, our responsibility is to manage the debris that is produced by Hurricane Beryl. So we are at one of our sites, our point collection, Mount Pleasant. So the process that is taking place here right now is we're in the process of doing waste separation. So as the waste has been collected, each contractor, each private personnel that wish to use the site would have to come to the site and deposit of the hurricane debris collection. All right, so we have different areas in which we separate or categorize the waste. So at the farthest right, we have where we're going to collect our metal waste in terms of galvanized old iron, etc. Then we have at this section where the tractor is presently working, where we're going to collect our treated and untreated lumber. And also we have an area for collection for the wires that are produced. So the process is very simple, the process is workable, and we are applying as instructions are given. So.
So we are on another site, and I think this is Hillsborough. And I wanted to point out specifically what you're seeing here now. So, as when you go through the different sites that we have as storage facilities for these debris, you will notice that at some sites the processing has already started in terms of the waste. So, for example, here in Hillsborough, you will see quite a number of the tree debris. Some of the wood debris has been chipped by the wood chipper, and they are being stockpiled here now. So this is the type of things that we want to do. We do not want to bring on all of these big trunks and stuff as it is now in its normal state. So we are chipping it with the wood chipper. So as we go through the different sites, you would see that they have already commenced the second phase, which is breaking down the debris and stockpiling for transfer to mainland Grenada. Project Pristine was the cleanup post-hurricane burial on land. So now what we are witnessing, or what we are going to witness, is the marine cleanup that is done by a service provider all the way from Trinidad and Tobago, IL Engineering Company. They have been engaged through the Ministry of Climate Resilience to assist us with getting some of the salvage wreckage off from the mangrove area, and so that we can see how best we can meet with the boat owners to see what can be done post that. We definitely have a mandate and a responsibility as a ministry to ensure that yes, we have faced with climate issues, yes, we have experienced this devastating hurricane, but how we rebuild, how we bounce back from it is key. So this is just one part of it, and we're going to see a demonstration as to how this boat works, the operations work to remove the salvage wreck.
My name is Kevin Lawrence. I'm the Marine Manager for IL Engineering Services Limited. We're based in Trinidad, South Trinidad. We support the gas and energy sector in Trinidad. This vessel here is a utility vessel, and it's designed for different multiple tasks in the marine sector. So some people call it multi-purpose. We call it utility because it could do almost anything. Once it could operate in certain weather conditions. We provided a unique service to assist with the removal of wrecks in the oyster bed that sunk, right? That could cause more harm than good. The process of removing the debris is a lot of planning, even from back in Trinidad. We planning this exercise about 2 months now. I've been here before on a site visit, and I came back to execute with a plan. And putting that plan together is a lot of equipment, simple things like spreader bars, airbags, compressors, right? Make sure the vessel fit and ready, with certain equipment. This vessel also been just repowered, so we have new generators, new main engines, everything brand new. So it's just more or less putting everything together with a plan and a method, so that when we reach here, we have to do a dive survey of the area first to ensure that we don't have additional debris that could damage our vessel and cause other disruptions to the lagoon area, the oyster bed. So basically, once we do that, then we will have divers will come now and assess each vessel, because each vessel has a different form of removal or different challenges of removal. So the diver will go in there and in the water, do a seabed survey, do a vessel survey, and see what we need to have it done. And then some of the vessels, the other challenges, some of the sail vessels have long masts, 50 feet long. So we had to remove all the stay and then get the crane to hook that up and take it out before we could actually work on the vessel itself. Then you have vessels with challenges with might have fuel and oil contamination. So we have spill kits to recover any spill. And that basically it. Once we have that, then we will make a lift for the vessel. We will assess the weight and the radius. And then after, we'll start to pump out the water and we'll bring she up slowly. While the water being removed, it'll get less weight. And we'll bring her on board once that is if she have any damages on the hull. Because sometimes the boat could flip and it's in the water, but the hull could be okay. So once that is the case, we bring her on deck, we secure her, and we take her to the port where the government will dispose of the rest.
So with regards to the importance of clearing up the mangroves, we're very much aware. I've been in Turtle Bay now for the last 3.5 years, and we're very much aware that this particular area is a marine reserve. So you guys and the government coming in here and clearing up the mangroves of all the debris is very, very important. It is something that is the lifeblood of Turtle Bay Marina and Carriacou as such, because this area is what feeds the oxygen to the oceans around Carriacou itself. So very important what you guys are doing right now.
It's been absolutely amazing that the government has stepped up to the plate and brought in this barge to help clean up all the rest of the work and all of that sort of thing. So yay for, Grenada, yay for Carriacou, hooray for these mangroves having a chance to come back.
Today we have witnessed what a normal day within the schedule we have for the marine cleanup in terms of removing the salvage wreckage in the mangrove. So following that removal, the boats, they would come to the Dumfries landfill here in Carriacou, and it's going to be packed there. At present, the legislation states that it takes just about 6 months for persons to claim and for the owners to come forward. So what we do, we're going to hold them there, try as much as to contact some of the boat owners. Some have already stated that they do not want the boats. Others are off island. Some are yet to be identified. The owners are yet to be identified. So we're going to hold them there, ensure that we get the consent of the owners and see how best we can go forward with it. So once it's cleaned up from the mangrove, we take it, bring it to Dumfries, stockpile in the meantime, go through the process as stipulated by law, and then make a decision going forward thereafter.
Again, folks, the facts right before us, the government of Grenada, the Honorable Kieran James and the team, they are doing a fantastic job. The Honorable Tevin Andrews doing a fantastic job in Carriacou and PT Martinique to help, the two islands come back to some sense of normalcy. Some people are good at talking. Man, they could talk. They could tell you all the problems that exist, but they are not a part of the solution. They are not a part of the solution, and they are not interested in the solution. They want things to stall. They want things to derail. They want disruption to take place. They want problems to occur. That is what they want, because they believe if things get bad, then they would easily get into power. The people going to, say, we ain't want them. We want the person who's out there brain and talking and talking and talking. All right? So that is what they believe. They believe if they can cause things to be bad, because mind you, if you keep repeating over and over and over and over again that things are bad and that the people of Carriacou and PT Martinique this and the people of Carriacou and PT Martinique that, and look how the people this and look how the people that, and you keep going on and on and on. After a while, it would get to you. After a while, people will start believing it. Many of these people who are speaking about Carriacou and PT Martinique, ask them, what have you done to help the people of Carriacou and PT Martinique? You have big nations where a storm pass, mash up plenty houses, the infrastructure and so on. and it takes months and years to get back to some semblance of normalcy. And I'm talking about big nations with billions and billions of dollars. But the NNP is out there giving you the impression that, man, the government has a duty, a responsibility to fix everything and fix everything now. They are not telling you that a number of schools have been refurbished, renovated. A number of government buildings have been fixed, refurbished, renovated. A number of medical stations, the hospital, have been fixed, renovated, refurbished, and so on. They're not telling you that. They're not telling you that a number of public officers, teachers, people working with government, police officers, and so on, they have received assistance to renovate their roofs, to fix their homes. They're not telling you that. They're not telling you that as we speak, there are a lot of people collecting materials. I think it's up to what, 15,000 or so in materials from government, to fix their homes, to help themselves. They're not telling you about all the exemptions on appliances, no taxes on appliances, on building materials, they're not telling you those things. They're not telling you that the government put $25 million in the Grenada Development Bank for the small, medium-sized, and large businesses of Carriacou and PT Martinique. They're not telling you that they can access it. They're not telling you that the fishers who lost their engines and their boats, they're getting the assistance that they need. All right? They are not telling you that. The system is not perfect. I am not saying that it's perfect. In fact, some people call me during this week and they said, well, look, the government said people with more than 5 acres, they are down to get $9,000. And people with 5 acres and under will be getting $4,500. There are a number of farmers who reached out to me saying, hey, I have 6, 7, 8 acres, but they received $4,500. All right. So I said to them, what you need to do is to bring it to the attention of the extension officer or the Ministry of Agriculture so that they can address it. So I'm not saying that it's a perfect system. Right? There are some farmers who are supposed to get $4,500 and they say, well, for some strange reason, they end up with 9,000, even though they have 5 acres and under. So the system is not perfect, right? But the government is trying its best to help the people of Carriacou and PT Martinique and to bring them back to where they were or even better. We were able to restore electricity. We were able to restore water. And the work is ongoing today. For example, the greater part of Carriacou doesn't have electricity. Like today, because Grenlec is doing some work and they inform Carriacou that for today, some parts would not have electricity. So work is always ongoing. But to give the impression that nothing is happening, to give the impression that the government is not moving fast enough to help its people in Carriacou and PT Martinique, that's false. Totally false. The opposition, they would always oppose. In fact, on Friday, we were having a conversation, right? And we all agree that, yes, you have an opposition and they can oppose things. But if everything you're opposing and you have nothing good to applaud, to commend the government for, it means that something is wrong with you as the opposition. Because there must be some level of responsibility. You have to be a responsible opposition. It's all good to criticize. It's all okay to condemn. But I'm saying we must be more on the solution side of things. You have to be real. You can come out and say the government did X, Y, and Z good, and here is where they did A, B, C, D, E wrong. And then people will respect you some more. They would appreciate you some more. But you have a situation where all the opposition does is condemn and criticize. They have nothing good to say about this government. They're just angry. They're just bitter. And there's a high level of jealousy on the part of the NNP. They're jealous and desperate. So they're desperate and they're also jealous. All right? That is obvious on their part. It's like they miss what they had and they're jealous that the people who are there are doing a fantastic job. The situation is not perfect, and there will be people within the system working against the government. Because, today I was saying to a friend, every time the NDC administration is doing well and the NNP as a party is messing up and doing all kind of stupidness, there are two ministries that always pop up to spoil it. Ministry of Health or Ministry of Education. And it's not that the minister is not doing X or Y, or the ministers. No, it's not about them. There are people within the system who are deliberately sabotaging and undermining the government. They're delaying every single thing because they hope by doing those things in a tactical way, they can undermine the government. That is what they're trying to do. And they're playing from the same book that they used in 2008 to 2013. The same thing that Keith Mitchell and the NNP did during 2008 to 2013, they're doing the same thing now. They went into the parliament, they made a big fuss about nothing, and then they took that into the constituencies and they started having meetings, attacking government, saying all manner of things about the government. They had protest march, demonstration, they had a whole pile of stuff happening. And that was their strategy. Their strategy is to cause instability, to cause uneasiness within the society. So they're doing the same thing. And then they were able to get union leaders on board with them to more or less, fast forward the thing. They were able to do that the last time wrong. And then they had the NDC at the time with the little issues. But this time wrong, you have a united team of men and women with one leader focused on transforming Grenada, Carriacou, and PT Martinique. So that is what makes it different. But it is the same playbook that the NNP is using. So they were able, during 2008, 2013, to get people within the media fraternity on board with them, people within the churches on board with them, people within the labor movement on board with them. And they were able to use that to cause a lot of things in the country, demonstration, protest, this, and cause people to think that things are so bad in the country. So they're doing the same thing now, the same strategy they are using at present. And it's something that we need to put a stop to, prevent it. All right? Same playbook the NNP is using because they believe it worked for them then, it could work for them again. All right? So they're hoping that people are going to forget about all the good things that this government did for the workers, for the fishers, for the farmers, for, the police officers, the nurses, the doctors, just name it. They believe that Grenadians are going to forget about that. But they're making a mistake. I want to move on again by saying to you, the government is serious about helping contract workers. The government wants contract workers to be in a better position, and they are working towards that. All right? I remember the Most Honorable Deacon Mitchell spoke about contract workers and the situation that they're in.
Consideration will be given to more than 3,000 contract workers in the public service under the new pension scheme. Cabinet has already approved the pension policy framework, and government will go to Parliament in October to enact legislation to create the new scheme, of which part of the contributions will come from government as the employer and part from the employees. Prime Minister Honorable Deacon Mitchell made the announcement on Monday during his administration's first in a series of town hall meetings to commemorate their second year in government. The new scheme will cater to workers with both contracts for service and off service.
We have committed that come the 1st of October, we will be going to Parliament to enact legislation to create a new pension scheme for these workers to ensure that they have the opportunity to have a pension. And I want to be clear, the established workers who have their pension established by the Constitution, we are not interfering with you. You have your pension, we restored it, we paid the retroactive, and we will continue to pay. But that is a pension that you do not contribute to. That is a pension that is funded entirely by the taxpayers of this country, you, me, all of us. We cannot continue in a situation where you have 3,000 persons who don't have pension. Because when they retire, what will happen to them?
Prime Minister Mitchell said this is the first step in the process to abolish the distinctions between contract for and off service, since they are all government employees and must be treated as such. He said the new pension scheme will be designed so contributions are transferable from one job to the other.
Anyone who's hired by the government thereafter has to come on to the pension system where they contribute, the government contribute, and when you retire, you can have your pension. If you move from the government to the private sector, you could take your pension with you. If you want to exit the government service, you can get the contributions you have made to that pension for yourself. Because I want you to understand something about the current pension system. It has certain rules. You have to work by a certain length of time before you could get it. So if you have to work for 21 years and you want to leave at 18, you cannot leave because you will not get the pension. So we could be honest, some of us grind it out and grind it out only because we want to make sure we get the pension. But we have to create flexibility. So the new pension scheme will ensure that if you want to leave and you can take your contributions with you. You can transfer your pension to the private sector or to wherever you wish to go.
In 2022, government made pension and gratuity payments to qualified established workers and retirees.
Yes, that's a very good piece there. And our beloved Prime Minister explained this thing nicely. As it stands now, the 3,672 contract workers, contract for service, contract workers, PSC letters, in other words, they are not permanent, unestablished workers. As it stands now, if they retire, they're going home with nothing. They have no pension to get. As it stands now, the government is trying to make sure that when they retire, that they get a pension to fall back on every month until they die. Remember, it was the NNP who introduced contract within the public service. You remember Vote 340? So they brought a lot of people within the public service on a contract. And the reason for that was when there is some industrial action, some strike, the contract worker will not participate. The contract worker will be afraid because he or she can lose his job. All right? Afraid, scared. I'm saying also that came with a lot of things. So you're on a contract and you have no job security because few business places, few lending institutions, few banks and so on, credit unions would give you a loan on that contract because the contract is short term, 2 years for the most, then you have 1 year, 12 months. So while the government was not renewing the contract, in actual fact, the employee was on the payroll and they remain working, but the contract was not renewed. And they would work for 15, 20, 25 years, 30 years, and they would go home with no pension because they do not qualify based on the law for a pension. So the NDC is trying to come up with a new pension scheme where the employee pays a little and the government pays a certain amount, and that goes for that pension, your pension plan, until you die. But here it is, on Thursday, either Thursday or Friday, we were reasoning, a number of us, and it dawned on me that the NDC really cares about contract workers. Do you know that the NDC is the only government who actually gave contract workers the same increase as permanent workers, the same 13% on their salaries? The government didn't have to do that. No, they could have decided it's only for public officers who are permanent, but they gave them also. All right? And then you heard Brian Grimes himself commending the government for such a move. It's historic, and it's the first time it ever happened. So the government cares about contract workers, about unestablished workers, and that is why they are trying to fix it so that they can go home with a pension. And all this talk from the union and from people who believe that they know, the government of Grenada, based on the laws of Grenada, does not have any obligation to the contract workers or those who are not permanent, they're unestablished. All right? They do not have a legal obligation to give them anything, any pension, any gratuity, any nothing like that, based on the law. So you hear some people saying, well, you can't do that because if you do that, then it will be less favorable and the law says X and says Y. But in reality, there is no law protecting these people because they were on contract, and many of them still on contract. They're not permanent. They're not permanent. So again, it's a very important thing for you to understand. The government is trying to help. That is what the government is trying to do. So again, the government has to be commended for going all out to get that pension in place for the workers, right? Those who are there now.
Honorable Deacon Mitchell says health and wellness is a critical pillar of government's vision that cannot realize a full rebound in the short term. His comments were made following the delivery of the throne speech by Governor General Her Excellency Dame Cecile Lagrenade on Friday, October 4th, to mark the opening of the third session of the 11th Parliament. The speech sets the foundation for government's plans going forward. It highlighted plans for reconstruction and recovery, education and skills development, health and wellness, energy transition, housing, agriculture and food security, national security, and legislative agenda. Prime Minister Mitchell spoke with the GIS at the end of the ceremony and said the presentation hinges on key areas of Vision 75, which includes improvements for healthcare delivery.
There's no question that we are not satisfied as a government with the state of healthcare and whether, being honest, whether it has been improved enough in the last 2 years. So we are not satisfied. And we recognize, therefore, that we have to take a much more strategic, a much more deliberate and focused approach on ensuring that we could really tackle this issue. So there are two components of it. One, and I'll start with the question of manpower. It is clear that we have significant gaps and inadequacies in terms of manpower. There are several positions within the healthcare system that is just not filled. And I'm not even talking about the clinicians in terms of the doctors and so on. I'm just talking about a lot of the support services that is required to make our healthcare system robust. It therefore means the government is going to have to find creative ways of investing and spending to recruit, train large numbers of persons to work in the healthcare sector. And so the government is seriously considering having the nursing school come back. We are also seriously considering signing memorandum of agreements with other countries to allow their professionals to be able to work in Grenada. We are going to have to take a much more robust recruiting strategy with the diaspora to encourage some of our healthcare professionals to return to Grenada, notwithstanding that we may not be able to pay the kinds of incomes that they may earn elsewhere.
There must be radical structural changes if Grenada is to realize improvements of the overall healthcare sector.
We are going to have to consider and look at things like statutorizing our hospitals. We are going to have greater focus on making sure that there are doctors and clinicians available in the communities. We are going to have to ramp up things like mobile clinics and so on so that we can go to our healthcare people, our citizens, sorry. And then we also have to make sure that education on healthcare is important, because a lot of the burdens that the state is asked to address in healthcare are completely related to our lifestyles. And it is something that, you can build the greatest hospital, you could educate the greatest doctors, and they could stay, but it is going to become very expensive if people are coming down with diseases that are avoidable. And I think we know the whole range of non-communicable diseases that we suffer from in Grenada.
There is need for education to ensure that the culture of healthcare is changed in Grenada, a process that will take a holistic approach and one that will fall into place over time. Addressing the issues of healthcare is not a short-term issue.
But we accept that there's some low-hanging fruits that we have to be able to address, and the manpower is one of the critical things, and ensuring that we can pay better, and pay doesn't always mean salary, but incentivizing other things for healthcare professionals so that they remain committed. To that end, I will go on into the infrastructure part. We've said the new teaching hospital is going to be key. This is medium to long term, because it will take a while to have that built, to have it equipped, and to have the right culture move forward. But we've made significant progress. We've acquired the land. We have been in discussions with Mount Sinai out of New York. We are in the process of signing a consultancy agreement with them so that they can do a gap analysis of our current hospital and then make recommendations as to what are some of the things we can do immediately to start improving that process. That analysis will take place over the next 90 days. So we expect by the end of the year, we will have that. And then that will give us, I think, clearer insight into what are some of the immediate, medium, and long-term things that we need to do in the current healthcare system. Because what we want to be able to do is that when we transition to the new hospital, that we would have already begun to address a lot of the challenges.
Prime Minister Mitchell says his administration is also very much aware of the excuses, complaints, and experiences that people have when interacting with healthcare professions within the system.
Yes. So again, the government is trying to come up with solutions to fix things. And I will always argue to say, why would the NNP want a Grenada mash up, right, on its knees, broken into pieces? Because that is the way they're acting. They rejoice when bad things happen to Grenada. It's just that we have not been seeing a lot of bad things happening to our country. But they rejoice when those things happen. All right? They just want to see Grenada on its knees. They want things to be so bad that, you know, people are going to say, nah, boy. They want it bad. They want it broken. Because they believe if that happens, then they can easily waltz their way back into power. That is what they want. It's like you're in a business and problems. Then you call for the head of the manager, the accountant, those in management. That is what they want. They want to see things get bad so that they can come back into power. All right? And mind you, some of them not just standing on the sideline and watching things, or hoping that things are going to get bad. They're actually playing a role in destabilizing the country because they want to create unrest in the country, in my belief. They want the thing to be, they want the thing to start, so to speak. They want instability. They want chaos. They want anarchy in the society. That is why you hear them talking about it. They go and match for this and match for that. And they go do this and they go do that. You hear them every day. And you ask yourself, but okay, all that's happening now is because of NDC? In 2.5 years? No. Something has to be wrong. Something has to be wrong. When they talk that way, they give you the impression that this government came in and all of a sudden everything stop, or start. But government come, government go. Things do happen, yes, but come on. There are certain things definitely would not happen just within 2 years. It will take longer than that. They want the NDC to fix all the roads, fix all the schools, fix all the police stations, pay everybody high salary, give away this, give away that. That's how they're operating. That is exactly how they are operating. They couldn't do it in 23 years and a half, but they want it to be done in 2 years and a half or 3 years and a half. It's a lot of work to be done, but you realize that the NNP is acting desperate, as though they missed something. And the deadline is drawing nigh, drawing near. The level of desperation is too much. And it's taking a toll on people. Some people already start observing that. How is it that the opposition, all they have is bad things to say or to wish bad on government? Come on, only negative, 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 negative. It is sad, real sad, because their supporters are actually starting to think that way. Negative. And also wish bad on Grenada. That is what they're doing. They're wishing bad things to happen to Grenada, Carriacou, and Petit Martinique. It's dangerous. And these are the same people who want to come back into power and govern the country and run the affairs of the state. It can't be that way. It can't be that way. There are some things that are working good. Applaud it. Commend it. Things that are broken and not working good, you could talk about it. Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that. But at the end of the day, you have to be balanced. Let's see you be in balance as you move forward. There is a certain fear from the NNP that the NDC supporters will support the NDC. Because no NDC supporter wants to see Keith Mitchell and NNP come back into power. They don't want to see that. All right? So there's a level of fear that the NDC, once the NDC supporters go down election day and the people in the diaspora and the people in the middle go out and vote, there's no way the NNP base or the NNP by itself going to win an election. So there's a level of fear. And as a result, you have Keith Mitchell and platforms trying to throw out scare tactics, fear-mongering out there to give people the impression that if you're in the diaspora, you can this and you can that.
Support of the people in the country. So the job is to try to pad the voters list, to see if they can get people from outside. And therefore, you have to take this voters list and scrutinize every name. And if you see a name saying Ching Ching Wong, Wang Ti, and all kind of, you have to ask yourself, what they're doing there? I don't know anybody in St. David is Ching Ching Wong and Wang Ti and all, well, Tan Ti and all kind of things, but yeah, they say that. So every one of these people, we have to deal with that. Because the law is clear. You cannot register to vote or vote in an election in Grenada unless you're a Commonwealth citizen or Grenadian citizen, or both, of course. But you must be here for at least a year. That's the law. So if you're living abroad, you can't just come and register and vote. So friends, get this voters list in every area.
Right. So Keith Mitchell knows that what he's saying is false, but he's still out there peddling it. All these lies, this falsehood. The law that speaks to registration and voting, it is in other words, it's accessible to anybody. It's on the internet. That's the Representation of the People's Act. All right, the Representation of the People Act. That's the law that governs vote registration and everything like that. All right, and it says clearly, and I can read it for you because I did that only recently. Entitlement to registration. So let me start off by saying let me read what it says, maybe an article above. Right of a person to vote. A person is entitled to vote in an election in a constituency if on polling day he is qualified and registered as an elector, a voter in that constituency, and his name appears on the current list to be used for that constituency. So once your name is on the voters list, you can vote on election day. And to get your name on the voters list, section 6 says entitlement to registration. Subsection 1, subject to section 7, a person, and section 7 speaks to the disqualification of electors, the person who could vote. All right, meaning that a person who is disqualified from voting or getting registered. A person shall be entitled to be registered as an elector or voter in any one constituency if he, 1, Article A, is a citizen of Grenada, or, and remember, or, B, is a Commonwealth citizen who has resided in Grenada for a period of at least 12 months immediately before the date of his registration. In other words, if you are a citizen of Grenada, you don't need to be here 12 months before you register because you're a citizen of Grenada. You're a Grenadian. There's no condition where that is concerned. If you're a Commonwealth citizen, however, then you need to be here 12 months before registration. Also, Article C says, has attained the age of 18, and D is ordinarily resident in that constituency, meaning that you're from that constituency, you're living in that constituency. So you understand the gist. The law is very clear. Once you're a citizen of Grenada, if you have a birth certificate or a passport, once you're a citizen of Grenada, you are entitled to register and to vote. Nobody could stop you. All right? Nice. So the law is clear. So folks, I want to thank you very much for being a part of the program. We have passed the 2 o'clock hour. Take good care. Have a wonderful day. I will be back with you